and so here I am doing a dissection. Well, it's not that detailed, or I'd be here for about an hour, but one of the reasons pyramid pose tends to be like the bane of some people's practice is either the limb proportion is a little off, like someone's got really long legs and short arms, or the hamstrings might be generally tight, tighter even than what would be considered average, because yogi flexibility does require you to be above average in terms of your range of motion most of the time. So you do have to play with it very gently and not go to the edge all the time. So what you'll need here is some blocky blocks, or at the very least, something in front of you. Like I have a couch here that I could use for support, or you could use a wall for support, something in front of you if down below does not work very well. So I'm already warmed up. I've already done a few things today, more than a few things. So for me, pyramid is going to feel a little bit easier, and I would recommend that you warm yourself up in some way. If you don't and you hurt yourself, you do so at your own risk. So a good way to get yourself warmed up for pyramid pose would be to start with a nice crescent lunge. So that's my right leg in front, in case you want to follow exactly. And then I take it back a little bit, and I just go back and forth. Now, I'm not going to totally blow out the front of my left hip. If I did, I'd be way the heck out here. But I'm going to hang back a few inches because I don't really want to be sort of pressing the head of the femur out into cartilage land, as I call it in my head. So after you've done this a few times, you can sort of graduate. Let's get a breath going first, though. I'm going to pause here for a moment because this is eventually going to be the position of my front leg. So inhaling as we go forward, kind of like cow, and then as you exhale, it's more like cat pose going back. So let's do that a few times. Inhale. And then as you exhale, feel from the front of your low spine lift up before you start rounding your upper spine. If you would like to do this without hand support, it's certainly available to you. I usually lift the arms forward and then turn the palms up and come back. It requires a little bit more strength and balance, which could be very good in terms of working strength and your flexibility. Okay, cool. So now we'll take inhale, comes back down into crescent, and exhale comes into sort of what I call a broken pyramid, or the stair pose, where your legs don't straighten all the way, even though they probably could. Okay? And then we inhale back down. And then exhale, you initiate it from the belly and the spine, and then you make your stairs. You can do this as many times as you want. What we're doing is not only are we just gradually working into our range of motion, but we're also hopefully creating some heat. And if you do this with one hand, you'll be working a little bit more strength, and so ideally you're working mobility, which is like control. Good. Okay. Now, next time you come down, let's take a twist to the right just to start with. And then we'll spiral over to the left. You can even snug your torso on the inside of your inner thigh. Inhale, and then exhale. And we're just doing this to get a little bit more juice going in the spine. If you would like to, you could lift the back leg, and then as you exhale, either curl it in by like energetically pulling your back foot forward, so if like your mat could slide, it's almost like you would take the mat with you. All right, when you feel ready, we'll come to an upright lunge, and then we'll go to a slightly less broken pyramid. Inhale, and then as I exhale, I lift through the abdomen first. And then when you feel ready, you can pause for little bits at a time in your pyramid. So common cues you'll hear in pyramid are, to have your back heel turned in and pressed onto the floor. Front toes are straight, your hips are square. For the front leg, you'll hear, in this case, pull the right hip back, draw the left hip forward. But what it really comes down to is what feels okay for you. So what if your back heel going down hurts the back of your knee? You don't really want to be putting all that stretch and pressure in the back of your knee. So you could lift your heel up, as I am doing a little bit. You can also put your heel on a blanket or block or a rolled mat, which I actually had ready. Still ready, just not as ready. Okay, so there we go. Now it's not all just ruminating in one area. If you're going to feel a sensation of stretching, it would be best for it to cover more surface area than to be all concentrated in one spot. Now the front leg, as you can see, I don't have the front leg as straight as it can be, because in order to do that, I would have to lock it out and it would bend the opposite way. So if you have those types of legs, you want to have a slight bend, and then I like to squeeze, hug the muscle up, and you can feel the glute working too. If your legs generally look bent even when they're straight, chances are you could straighten your leg all the way and still activate the muscle, of course. And then the last thing I like to do is pretend like my legs are a pair of scissors. So I'll, every now and again, usually on an exhale, isometrically contract my legs as though my feet would come in towards the middle like I'm closing a pair of scissors. And then I'll press down, and then I'll contract. My belly helps me contract too. This isn't all legs. This is inner thighs, pelvic floor. This is feet. This is thighs, hammies. Good. Now, in order to go all the way forward without blocks, a couple things need to happen. One is you need to really go past a generally healthy position of the body. And if you only do pyramid once a week or something like that, it's not a big deal. But if you're practicing 5 days a week and you're always going to the nth degree in your pyramid, that front leg could eventually start to creep up little issues up by the attachments. So you just really want to be careful of that. Right now my front leg is not straight because I'm starting to feel sensation creep up towards the attachments, and I have an old injury there, and I would really rather not pick a fight with that again. So I have long arms and short legs. This also helps me put my hand down. So if you're looking around in class, which you generally shouldn't be doing, at least in a comparison sense, and you see that there are people with their hands down and yours are not, but you feel pretty flexible, chances are it's a proportion thing, which you really can't do anything about. All right, so I've been here long enough. How am I going to come out of this? I'm not going to blow out my spine and then kind of lose the sensation and lift. If I want to come up, I'll bend the legs again. I'll slowly emerge like I'm coming out of a cocoon, and then I would find pyramid again. And that is how I would treat pyramid. That is how I would come upright, and that is how I would warm up from it. So if you have a home practice, you can try this on your other side if you like, and see how it works for you, and see what it's like to back off a little bit. If you're a bendy person like I am, see what it's like to back off from time to time, or maybe even, more than half the time. And if you're not a bendy person, then don't worry about it, because in many ways you have less potential injury acquisition, because there's a little bit more holding you together in a practice that's like yoga. Okay, that is pyramid pose just for you. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you have any other questions, and I can do a part 2 video on this position. See you soon.